Hello, Dog Nation. Welcome into Week 3 of Go With The Flow, presented by R.S. Andrews. My name is Brandon Adams. Lucky to have our producer, Connor Raleigh, here in the studio. And on the phone, joining us from his vacation in Italy, which you know is an absolute commitment to excellence when he takes a little time away from vacation to talk about some of the picks for the week. It's our buddy, Dari Payro from R.S. Andrews. Dari, hello to you, and thanks for being with us here on Go With The Flow, presented by R.S. Andrews this week. Truly, I hope you're having a good vacation, and glad to know you're going to be back stateside in time to watch a little college football this weekend.
Oh, yeah, having a blast. Glad to be on here. Buongiorno. And, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. So.
It's kind of funny you threw the buongiorno in. I was going to try to give you an Italian greeting. I almost said, like, bonjour, which is French, I guess. I almost said grazie. That's more like thank you, I think, and I believe that is Italian. So I went for an Italian word. I couldn't find one, so I just decided to give you the generic American greeting. How is your Italian, by the way? Are you able to kind of converse over there and talk to folks and order in restaurants? Do you have much of the Italian language down?
No, I just got a handful of words, little phrases. That's about it.
Well, the one thing you do have, if not a full grasp on the Italian language, you do have the lead in our little season-long competition to see who can kind of have the best picks overall here. In fact, let's update the Tote board here for a moment. Dari, after last week where you went 500, you split 4-4. You are 9-8 on the season. That puts you ahead of me at 6-11 after a disastrous 2-6 week a week ago. Got really beaten up by Arkansas. Beat me up bad. Tennessee beat me up bad. I really cast my lot with some bad teams last week, and I paid the price for that. Connor, though, 5-12. His worst week was week 1. He went 4-4 last week. So thus far, not exactly red hot, but Dar, you do have the winning record here, so that's going to certainly look pretty good there. And we'll see if we can kind of keep some momentum going for you and try to find some winners for Connor and me here this week. For the folks who've never been with us before, this is Go With The Flow. It's presented by R.S. Andrews, and much the same way we like to go with the flow and get the right picks here. You want the flow of cold air kind of coming out of your air conditioning vents every single day, or the hot water coming out of your shower. That means you want to trust our friends at R.S. Andrews to make sure that's possible, whether it be the $99 Smiley tune-up to get your air conditioning back to factory fresh specs. After all, the month of September here in Georgia is incredibly hot. That means you want your house to be cooled down when you're inside. R.S. Andrews is the source to trust for all of that, or to fix your water heater, kind of anything from some of those major systems there in your house. Air, heating, plumbing, electric. R.S. Andrews can do all these things for you. You can check them out at rsandrews.com. So what we do here on our program is we hear from a sort of a collection of our Dog Nation experts, our buddy Mike Griffith from Athens, our Dog Nation recruiting insider, Jeff Sintel. The Dog Nation daily listeners and viewers have a chance to weigh in on this. Connor and I both weigh in on this. And then Dari Payro at the end gets his choice of whether or not he wants to go with the flow. It's our little format for deciding which are the best picks for the upcoming games here this weekend. So if we're all up to speed, let's start with the game that matters the most to the people who are watching us right now. And that's the situation with the Georgia Bulldogs getting ready to play host to Arkansas State as about a 33-point favorite, depending on where you find it, when you find it here this week. Dogs put up big numbers last week, but did not cover the spread against Murray State. What about the situation here for this week? Let's start with Mike Griffith from Athens. Mike, does Georgia cover the big number against the Red Hawks or Red Wolves?
Be Red Wolves.
Red Wolves. Against the Red Wolves, does Arkansas State cover the big number? Mike Griffith, you are first up.
That leaves us with Georgia and Arkansas State. And Kirby Smart's told us all week how great Arkansas State is. They're a really good team with really good receivers. They got a quarterback that can spin it. And their athletic director is a member of the College Football Playoff Committee. So let's make sure that he has a good meal at Sanford Stadium and some nice cold water. Kirby does not run the score up in this football game. Let's make it Georgia 45 and Arkansas State 14. And those are my picks this week, BA.
Thank you so much, Mike, for that dissertation on Georgia and Arkansas State. Ultimately, he does take the underdog there, plus the points. How about our buddy Jeff Sintel on this topic, Dog Nation Recruiting Insider? What say you?
Wow, you got a 33-point line here. I think it's a lot bigger line than the Vanderbilt line. That's a tough one. I can really see a 40-7, a 57-21 game. I'm going to think Georgia actually, as a measure of kindness, pink out or whatever. I think they're kind to Arkansas State, and I do not think they cover the 33 points this week.
So both of our scribes thus far kind of taking a light touch for Georgia, winning the game against Arkansas State, but not covering the 30-plus point spread. How about our Dog Nation Daily listeners and viewers? I have a pretty good eye. Oh, a little bit less than I thought. I would have thought Georgia fans would be a little bit more aggressive than this. 84% do take Georgia. Sometimes when it comes to the UGA pick, though, the audience, for the reasons you'd probably expect, have a tendency to lean towards the home team a little bit more. So we're at a 2-1 margin for Arkansas State over Georgia here, at least when it comes to the point spread part of this. Let me bring in our buddy Connor Riley here as well. Connor, what are your thoughts on this game from a point spread standpoint?
Well, hearing Mike and Jeff sort of talk about it, they mentioned Blake Anderson and how Georgia fans have started to try and pink out this game, and they both think that there's a chance Georgia takes it easy on Arkansas State. I think if you really want to be nice to someone, you treat them like you would treat anybody else. And with that, give me 5 touchdowns. As long as this line stays under 35, I feel good that Georgia's going to win this game by at least 5 touchdowns.
All right, that's a good pick by Connor. The numbers here, at least to a certain extent, do favor Arkansas State plus the points. The Red Wolves are 5-2 in their last 7 against the spread. Here's my point on this, though, Dari, and after this, we're going to have a consensus formed. Even if Georgia wanted to take it easy on Arkansas State, there is a certain extent about the Georgia depth and talent right now that makes it pretty hard to truly call off the Dogs. Georgia's now working on a streak, if you want to call it this a streak, of 2 consecutive home games against non-conference foes where they've scored 60-plus points. I think that speaks to what Georgia now has in its second and third string units where those guys want to play. They want their time to shine. 33 is not a gigantic number here. To a certain extent, I'm kind of grasping at straws on this, I will admit, but if I've got to take one side or the other, I think I take the Georgia side because it's a little bit hard for Georgia to turn off that faucet right now of scoring those points. The Arkansas State offense is certainly pretty good. Maybe you think about that when you get to the over-under later on in the show, but by a narrow margin, I'm going to take Georgia minus the points here, which actually puts the flow on the side of the Dogs, 3-2. Dari, do you want to go with the flow? Do you want to take Georgia minus a pretty big number against a Sun Belt team that's actually won a game already this season, blew out UNLV last week? Do you want to go with the flow?
No. I'm gonna take Arkansas State in the point. I think they're going to be able to score some points late in their game. And I think that'll be the difference of the cover for them. I think it's just too many points, and Arkansas State has a pretty good offense.
Yeah, and certainly that's true. Mike mentioned the quarterback a moment ago, Dusty Bonner's son, I believe, the former Kentucky quarterback. Their receivers have gotten some love from Kirby Smart here this week. Big score for them last week against the running Rebels of UNLV. Came close against SMU in week 1, so certainly some late scores, turning this into a more narrow game. I could see it. I don't think Georgia's threatened by Arkansas State, but from a point spread standpoint, this one could be a live one all day long. So we're off and running here on Go With The Flow, presented by our friends at R.S. Andrews. Happy to have R.S. Andrews, Dari Payro with us here as well as we kind of roll through some of the top games. Now, I'm really interested to hear everybody's thoughts on our next game. It's Alabama going on the road in the SEC to South Carolina. Gamecocks look terrible in week 1. But Ryan Helinski gave them some hope in week 2, stepping in for the injured Jake Bentley. What is the scenario here? Let's start with Dog Nation's Mike Griffith.
Clemson Tide at 25.5-point favorite. That seems a little high for me. South Carolina can be a tough place to play, especially when you don't expect them to do well. They've got a young quarterback. They lost Jake Bentley for the season, but they've got confidence. So let's make it Alabama 31, South Carolina 20, a game closer than many people think it.
All right, so he takes Alabama there with that one. How about our buddy Jeff Sintel? Which direction do you want to? Actually, Griff took South Carolina, plus the points. Yeah, he takes South Carolina plus the points. How about our buddy Jeff Sintel? Jeff, why don't you weigh in on this one?
That one right there makes you think, because you've seen South Carolina be able to move the ball with young Ryan Helinski already. Man, but then you've got the injuries already happening for South Carolina. Big game. I'm sure the Alabama front's going to give Helinski more than he's ever seen before. I like Alabama and the points in Columbia.
So Jeff does take the favorite there. He takes Alabama to cover. How about our Dog Nation Daily listeners and viewers? Split decision from our scribes. What do these folks weigh in on saying? Going with the favorite by a narrow margin. 63% do like Alabama, minus the 25.5 here. So we got 2 for Alabama, 1 for South Carolina. Connor, I don't know that I have a great feeling on this game. I've got some opinions, but not a strong play one way or another. I'm actually curious to hear what your take on all this is.
I think this Alabama team is kind of mad. They've come out and really played well these first 2 weeks. I know the Duke game, the first half wasn't great, but they covered in that game. And I can't look at a horse in the mouth, and I can't look at Ryan Hilinski, as a freshman going in and playing all that well against an Alabama and a Nick Saban-led defense. And because of that, give me Alabama in the 25.5 on the road.
Okay, so I'm not surprised at that, and I kind of agree with everything you say, especially the point about Alabama kind of having a little bit of a chip on its shoulder about the way the last season ended. We saw early season a year ago they were really into putting up a lot of points and things along those lines. From a statistical standpoint, they are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5. So from that standpoint, they haven't been doing great against relatively big numbers as of late. Of course, some high-profile games are also mixed into that, stretching into the end of last season. Dari, once again, I'm not going to oversell my pick on this because I don't have a strong feeling really one way or another. I do think that one of the things that South Carolina fans have a history of doing is shaking off bad performances. For a lot of teams in the SEC, after losing to North Carolina week 1, you wouldn't get much of an atmosphere in the stadium after that. But South Carolina fans are used to losing games, and they're used to coming back to Williams-Brice and making it a tough place to play. I actually think the environment on Saturday is going to be pretty good from that standpoint. I believe Darius Rucker is doing a concert there in Columbia this weekend. He's got, obviously, some local ties. So this is going to feel like a big game, even though South Carolina right now is not a great team. I mentioned Hilinski before. Connor says he doesn't trust him. I don't need him to win the game, though. I just need him to keep it within 4 touchdowns or so. I need to keep it within the 25.5 points. I don't feel great about this situation, but I am going to take South Carolina to just stay underneath the number, maybe just barely. To the average person watching the game, it's going to seem like an Alabama blowout, but to someone holding a ticket, this one may end up cashing for the Gamecocks. A very, very soft pick of South Carolina for me, but the flow says Alabama. Dar, you're going to go with the flow.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the flow. Definitely with Alabama. That's my rule. Don't bet against them. So I'm going to keep rolling with that.
That is
Alabama cover.
Yeah, that is a pretty good rule. When in doubt, good team versus bad team, especially a team like Alabama. That's probably worth paying attention to. The one thing that scares me is how many points Alabama can score, which can make any point spread certainly in play, no matter how late the game is. How about our next one for a team that I picked last week? And boy, I really took it on the chin with a bad Arkansas team. They get a chance to host, though, and even worse, Colorado State team, with all due respect to our buddy Mike Bobo, who's the coach of the Rams out there. Mike Griffith, weigh in on this SEC Mountain West showdown.
Arkansas is a 10-point favorite. Colorado State is not a great team, but I think they're good enough to cover that spread. I think Arkansas wins, but it's 24-21. Arkansas over Colorado State. I give the Rams the cover in that game.
So Mike going the direction. He goes Colorado State with the cover in on that one. So he takes the Rams to sneak in and cover on that one. He also mentioned this is a 10-point spread. There's been a little bit of a line movement since then. This swings up to 12.5 in some places. So keep your eye on that. Always be a smart shopper when it comes to situations like this. How about our buddy Jeff Sintel? Jeff, what side are you on between Bobo and Chad Morris?
All right, guys, you got Colorado State, the Fighting Bobos. A little bit of sting in their mouth from losing to Mel Tucker in Colorado earlier this year. I think Colorado State goes into Arkansas, and with that point spread, I think they cover against Arkansas.
So both of our riders thus far taking underdogs to cover the spread here. Dog Nation Daily listeners and viewers, are they on the side of Bobo here, getting a chance to play it close in the SEC? Okay, so kind of split decision. 52% just barely take Arkansas. Kind of go in the direction of the Hogs after the Razorbacks did not look good at Ole Miss last week. Connor, you essentially proclaimed last week that you can just completely stay away from Arkansas in general because you don't like watching bad football, but I'm going to force you to pick this one nonetheless. Do you have a feeling on this game?
I have a feeling in my heart that Bobo's going to get it done this week.
Wow.
Get
it done to win the game?
Not only do those Rams of Colorado State, cover the 12-point spread, because Arkansas should not be favored by 12 over anybody if they can't even beat an Ole Miss team. Not only does Colorado State cover, they win. outright in Fayetteville.
That is unbelievable. I can't go anywhere near that. Dari, Colorado's listen, here's my theory on the Arkansas thing. Yes, last week I picked them. I look bad for doing so. But, Dari, you're an investor. You understand this. The one thing you can't do is sell in a down market because you end up, having to count your losses. You got to ride your way through it. Unfortunately, my wagon is now hitched to Arkansas because I lost with them last week. I got to stick with them right here, and I actually do think, even with a relatively big number next to their name, I think it's kind of the okay play because, unfortunately, and I love Bobo, I really do, but Colorado State's not good right now. They're just 6-14 in their last 20 against the spread. They're 1-6 straight up in their last 7, and they're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 road games. This is a team that is they just don't have it. Bobo, I think, is a smart coach, but for some reason, it's just not working out right now in Fort Collins, Colorado. I got to stick with Arkansas to get back from being let down by them last week. This is not the worst team in the country. They're not going to play bad every single Saturday. I got to tell you, as much confidence as I can have, even with a relatively big number, 12.5 is what I have it at right now, I got to go home favorite here. I got to take the Hogs, but the flow is on the side of Bobo and Colorado State. Do you want to go with the flow?
I am going to go with the flow and take Colorado State. I could see them win here. I don't know if they will. I think the game will be close. I'm a sell, Mortimer, when it comes to Arkansas. They let me down last week, and here's a stat for you. Arkansas is 1-8-2 against the spread in their last 11 non-conference games.
Wow.
So I'll take the 10 points in Colorado State.
That's a tough situation, but a good number and a good reason to kind of back the Rams here in this one. How about our next game? By the way, you're watching Go with the Flow, presented by our friends at R.S. Andrews, and certainly you get the expert picks, and I use that in air quotes when it comes to my picks here each week on Go with the Flow, presented by R.S. Andrews. But when you want expert consultation for some of the things you may be dealing with around your house, whether it be an air conditioning issue or something with your plumbing, your electrical system, we're coming up on the cold weather time of the year, believe it or not, at some point in time, you want to make sure your furnace is working the way it's supposed to. When you want expert advice on that, there is certainly nowhere else to turn but our friends at R.S. Andrews. You can find them online at rsandrews.com. You hear Dari on the program each week. He's a fun guy to talk some football with, and that's the kind of sort of fun, friendly atmosphere that's cultivated at R.S. Andrews. They are folks, and I love the way they say this, story after story, they've been delivering smiles, and certainly we all smile when we're doing this kind of stuff, and you'll have a smile on your face as well when you invite R.S. Andrews into your home to fix whatever you have broken. Air, heating, plumbing, electric. They'll take good care of you. rsandrews.com for more on that. All right, next game to talk about. I actually have a little bit of a stronger play on this. It's Clemson, Syracuse. Clemson gets the win last week against Texas A&M, but kind of got backdoored by the Aggies there at the end, going on the road to the Dome here this week. What is the feeling when it comes to Clemson, Syracuse? Let's start with Mike Griffin.
Syracuse can't possibly play as bad as they did last week against Maryland, against Clemson. But it's not going to matter. They're going to lose. I just don't think they're going to get destroyed by the spread. For some reason, I think this game is closer than maybe it should be. I'm going to say Clemson 41, Syracuse 24.
So he takes Syracuse there as the underdog there against Clemson. That's Mike Griffith. How about Jeff Sintel on the road, the defending national champions? What happens in the Dome? Jeff Sintel, weigh in.
That's a lot of points. That's a whole lot of points on the road. You got to think if Clemson will suffer letdown games, that will have to happen after the Texas A&M game. Sorry to say, I've not really been number 1 overall draft pick impressed with Trevor Lawrence so far this year. That's a lot of points. That's on the road. Syracuse is licking its wounds from that Maryland knockdown. I think, give me the points, give me Syracuse at home, and they make that a 24-point game, something like that.
So we're 2-0 on the side of the underdog here thus far. A little bit surprised by that. Dog Nation Daily listeners and viewers, how are they weighing in on this? Okay, so they're going to go favorite here. 59% of the audience does take Clemson as a big number. What do I have it at right now? I got a 27 or so, so pretty big number for Clemson against Syracuse. The audience favors the home team there. Connor Riley, your feeling on this?
We just got absolutely backdoored by
really bad.
Clemson
Really bad.
A&M last week. We were on the right side the whole game, and I still feel good about the pick we made there. And, yes, Syracuse got blown out last week. And in fact, they've given up 2 touchdowns already to Maryland again since the show has started. But, the saying you like to say is teams don't play bad 2 weeks in a row. Clemson didn't play great last week against A&M. I think they come out this week. They've lost their last 2 games to Syracuse anyway. I think they come out and they play great. Give me those 27 points.
It's a strong pick. Now, the one thing I'll also add to this is one of the things I'm always very skeptical of is home team, big atmosphere. Even in a game when you don't play great, there's a lot of emotion involved in that game. Now you got to go on the road the following week. The emotion probably works in Syracuse's favor because obviously they want to prove they're better than the debacle that existed last week against Maryland. I don't want to make too much of that game. The numbers here actually don't look great for Clemson. They're 1-5 in their last 6 September games against the spread, and 1-4 in their last 5 games against the spread versus Syracuse. So this is a opponent they've had some trouble with in a month where they've also had some trouble there as well. They're obviously the defending national champion, but as Jeff Sentell said when he made his pick a moment ago, we haven't seen the best of Trevor Lawrence as of yet. And one of the advantages of playing an easy schedule is you don't have to be that motivated from week to week. Clemson is almost no threat to lose this game, but they don't exactly have to have foot on the gas to go out there and get it done, which I do think brings the underdog there in play. Now, does the Maryland loss take the juice out of the crowd a little bit? There's a chance that's going to be the case here. But overall, this to me feels like the kind of game where I think you can see the Syracuse be a little live as an underdog. So I'm going to take the orange here, which puts the flow on the side of Syracuse. Dari, do you want to go with the flow?
Yes, I'm going to go with the flow.
Nice.
I'm going to take Syracuse. I think a lot of people are looking to take Clemson because they got blown out so bad by Maryland. But Syracuse has lost by 10 points or less in the last 5 meetings against Clemson. They play it close. On purpose, they scheduled this weekend to be homecoming, so they have a big turnout. So Syracuse should be there. They're not going to win the game, but I think they'll definitely cover.
Interesting game to talk about here now. It's Florida-Kentucky. You know the storyline. Last year, Kentucky broke a long losing streak to the Gators. This year, though, the game shifts back to Lexington, and injuries are going to be a factor. Florida has Kadarius Toney and C.J. Henderson. They're both dealing with various ailments. More importantly than that, though, Wildcats quarterback Terry Wilson is not going to play either. How does that impact the game in which Florida on the road? I have them as an 8.5-point favorite right now. What happens here? Let's go to Mike Griffith first.
Looking down at the picks, Florida's at Kentucky. Kentucky's quarterback's out for the season. I don't know if you saw that. The Gators quarterback, some people say he's out to lunch. I'm going to take Florida to win the game, though, and I think they're going to do it, again, decisive fashion. Florida 31, Kentucky 7.
All right, so Mike goes Gators there. Dog Nation recruiting insider Jeff Sentell. This may be the game of the week in the SEC. Jeff, how do you see it playing out?
All right, as much as it pains my brother Brandon Adams to say this, I like Florida in this game. I like them to cover the 8.5 in a big way. And yes, that has a whole lot to do with Kentucky being without its field general touchdown Terry. I don't know if they're going to find a field goal Fred to help them against the Florida defense, but I think Florida covers there in a big way.
So both of our riders go Florida here, and Jeff's right. I obviously don't like hearing these Florida picks as the resident Gator hater around these parts, but listen, you got to pick winners. I'm guessing our Dog Nation daily audience will support me a little bit. No, even they, by a 2-1 margin, take Florida over Kentucky, and I do get it. I mean, listen, I'm looking for every angle possible not to pick Florida in this game, but I do kind of get it. It's a 3-0 sweep thus far. Connor Riley, can you give me any argument for not taking Florida here? Because as a fan, that's what I want to hear, even though you got to go with your head on the gambling picks. As a fan, I want to hear somebody make a case for Kentucky. Do you have one?
So Florida's a top 10 team, top 10 based on ranking in the country.
Yeah.
Kentucky lost its starting quarterback. They're going to be starting a guy, Sawyer Smith, who did go 5-2 at Troy a season ago. But Florida's a top 10 team. Kentucky's without its starting quarterback. And somehow this isn't, a double-digit 2-touchdown game. This line kind of stinks to me.
Okay.
Reeks. I've picked two big road favorites already in Clemson and Alabama, but I love a good home dog. Give me the Wildcats
awesome.
With the points.
That's awesome. But, Connor, I'm so happy to hear you do that. I don't have anywhere near the guts you do on this one. Dari, let me give you one sort of factual reason and one kind of emotional reason why I got to go against my rooting interest and actually take Florida here. First of all, Florida 9-3 in its last 12 against the spread versus Kentucky. What that tells you is in the average year, Florida just has better players than Kentucky does. Even though they lost last year, they just had the better overall players in this rivalry for a number of years. Here's the other thing, Dari, and I don't know how well you remember this. When Kentucky won on Florida soil last year, there was a lot of celebrating. There was Cash Daniel, the very good Kentucky defensive player, doing the Stone Cold Steve Austin, kind of beer clang together. There was a lot of happiness and a lot of chatter about the Wildcats going off that game. Unfortunately, this Kentucky team can't back that up on the field this year. In addition to Wilson's injury, you don't have a Josh Allen anymore. You don't have a Benny Snell anymore. Kentucky's actually the team that I've picked to finish last in the SEC East. If you're the worst team in the division, which as I've said, then you don't play well in this spot. I don't like Florida. I'd love nothing more than to be wrong on this pick. But my head tells me this is one of those spots where I do think Florida, who's been able to rest up after their week 0 ugly showdown, they had a week off and a cupcake last week. I think Florida does get the win as the favorite on the road here. I've got to go with the Gators, which puts the flow on the side of Florida. I don't like picking Florida. In this case, I feel like I have to. Are you going to join me and the rest who've picked the Gators and go with the flow?
Yeah, I'm going with the flow. I agree with you. I think Florida's got this one circled. They want a little revenge for losing at home and how that went down. I think Florida's defense is just going to create some havoc and get in the backfield with some pass rush. So I'll take Florida. Close game. I don't think they're going to really beat them bad, but maybe by 10 points.
We'll get back to Georgia here in a moment. We'll talk about the total points we expect to be BC scored in Saturday on Athens. A couple other fun games before we get there, and this is probably the game this week that I feel the strongest about. It looks terrible on paper, but listen, they all pay the same way. I think this is a pretty fun game from a gambling standpoint. It's Mississippi State hosting Kansas State. Yes, indeed. Throw the records out the window when these two storied programs get together. Mike Griffith, what do you say?
Mississippi State, a 7-point favorite at home against Kansas State. Kansas State was once a proud program. Mississippi State doing a pretty nice job. I think they're going to beat Kansas State. It's in Starkville. Let's make it Mississippi State 27 and Kansas State 20. We're going to give that a push.
Did he really push? He picked it to push?
He picked the push.
Dari, can we please establish as a rule that our friendly neighborhood Dog Nation experts, they can't be picking pushes, right? You gotta be on one side or the other, don't you?
I guess he's that guy that bets on the 00 on a roulette table.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that would. If there was ever anyone that would do that, it's probably our buddy Mike Griffith. That's a really good call. How about Jeff Sintel? Jeff, what side are you on here?
I'm going to go Mississippi State, laying the 7 points down at home. I like Mississippi State to cover that spread.
So Jeff takes the SEC team at home. Dog Nation Daily listeners and viewers, do they like the other Bulldogs here as well? Let's find out. Yes, 70%. That's not a huge surprise. A lot of the audience liking the SEC team there at home. Probably not a ton of knowledge necessarily about Kansas State. However, I think, and I don't want to give my pick away here before I make it, Connor, that's the wrong side in this game. Tell me you're on the side of the dog here going on the road.
I thought long and hard about picking Mississippi State here. I think they're just the more talented team. But way too many people are on Mississippi State this week. And I would just add, Tommy Stevens is battling a little bit of an injury. His status, while it does look like he's going to play, it's uncertain. And
one thing that's interesting about that, and I'll turn this into a Mississippi State show, but did you see last week when Stevens left the game? They didn't play Keaton Thompson. They played the other kid, whatever his name is.
Well, Keaton Thompson has gone into the transfer portal.
But he came back, though.
Right. So, with all that being said, 7 points feels like a lot. New coach with Kansas State. They got the old North Dakota State coach. He knows a thing or two about winning. I don't know if they're going to win outright here in Starkville, but give me Kansas State.
Yeah, Dari, I'm going to be on the side of the Purple Wildcats here as well. Kansas State 5-1 against in its last 6 against the spread. A lot of that's going to be the old Bill Snyder regime, which was obviously great historically against the spread. As Connor said, you bring in that coaching staff from North Dakota State, which was historically been one of the best FCS programs. I don't think Mississippi State is good enough to feel confident in any kind of like Power 5 matchup like this when they're the one that has to give points the other side. I don't respect Moorhead right now as a coach. I don't respect Mississippi State as a program. I think they're totally overvalued by a lot of teams around the country. I don't know much about Kansas State other than I kind of favor the coaching matchup in their direction, and I've seen Kansas State pull upsets before. So in terms of keeping this one close and disappointing the folks in Starkville, I like Kansas State to do it. I am going to go that direction. However, the flow is still on Mississippi State, though, right, Connor? Yeah, flow's with Mississippi State, although Connor and I are both on Kansas State. Dari, you want to go with the flow, or do you want to join Connor and me?
I'm joining you and Connor.
There you
I'm
go.
going to take Kansas State. They've looked really strong their first 2 games. They've actually gone over 500 yards in both of those games. So I think they're underrated team. So definitely taking Kansas State.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I think that's a really smart pick. I think of all the games this weekend, Kansas State plus the points is the one that I feel the best about as we get close to a Saturday. Although I do think there's something pretty interesting going on here with our next game as well. Before we get back to Georgia and Arkansas State, let's talk a little bit about Justin Fields going on the road for the first time in his college career in the Big Ten to Bloomington to take on the Indiana Hoosiers. Mike Griffith, you are first up once again.
Then you've got Ohio State and Indiana. You know, Indiana has traditionally played Ohio State tough, but right now Justin Fields is on fire. I think the Buckeyes are for real, and I think they take care of Indiana and Indiana's young quarterback with relative ease. I'm going to make it Ohio State 45, Indiana 14.
All right, so Mike goes the direction of Ohio State there on that one. Jeff Sintel, hop on in here.
Got the Buckeyes, got the tremendous weapon in the backfield with J.K. Dobbins. Great collection of receivers. It's only going to get better. I like Ohio State to cover that 15. Even though they've had some pillow fights with Indiana of late, I like Ohio State to cover that spread.
So both of our riders go in the direction of the Buckeyes here. Dog Nation Daily, listeners and viewers. Obviously, a lot of folks who enjoy watching Justin Fields in that group. So 69% do go in the direction of Ohio State here as well. So we got clean sweep thus far for the Buckeyes against the Indiana Hoosiers. Connor, this is where Lee Corso, I believe, would start to say not so fast, my friend, but I don't want to influence your pick. I don't want to poison your well. What are you thinking about a highly ranked team on the road in the Big Ten?
There's just too much talent on this offense, on this Ohio State offense. And, you know, if they get out and jump on you, you got Chase Young on the defensive side there to just sack the heck out of whoever Indiana's quarterback is. I know 15 points is a lot. I'd feel a lot better if that was about 13 points. But give me Ohio State on the road here.
Okay, so he's going to go the big number there on the road. The argument here is in favor of Indiana. First of all, Ohio State, and Jeff Sintel kind of pointed this out. Good for him for being in the know on this. Ohio State is 1-7 in its last 8 against the spread versus Indiana. Nondescript opponent, but Ohio State hasn't dominated. And the Buckeyes are just 4-8 overall in their last 12 against the spread there as well. I think 15 points for a road favorite is kind of a lot. You know, Dari, the Bayer Chris Faliki from ESPN had a good number earlier this week where he said in the last 4 instances in college football where we had a weekend with no top 25 versus top 25 games, at least 2 ranked teams have lost in every one of those instances. You got to go back to 2004 to find the last time there was a weekend with no ranked versus ranked where a ranked team didn't lose to somebody. And even in that year, you almost had USC getting upset by Stanford. The point is, somebody somewhere is going to have trouble in a game that no one expects, and I think as good a candidate as any is Ohio State at Indiana here. Justin Fields has been good through 2 games, but I'm not ready to say it's going to be this easy on the road. I think this may be a little bit of a growing pain for the new Buckeyes coach, the new Buckeyes quarterback, and I think the folks in Indiana may have a little bit of an opportunity to watch a game into the 4th quarter here. So I'm going to take a flyer on the Hoosiers plus what I have it as at 15. I'm going to take Indiana, but the flow is on the side of Ohio State. Do you want to go with the flow?
Well, this looks like a trap game. It smells like a trap game. And Ohio State usually fumbles around at one of these games that no one looks at. However, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Fields continues to roll. His wide receivers are too good. And Ohio State's going to cover the 15.
I don't.
Going with the flow.
Okay, a good pick, but I don't mind being on an island on this one. I'm okay with that. And plus, when you look at my overall record, I've got nothing to lose. I got to play some I got to play some long shots here at some point in time. All right, let's finish up with this. Over, under. I've got it at 57 for Georgia against Arkansas State on Saturday. Georgia went over last week and a bigger number, 60-plus points against Murray State. What happens there this week? Mike Griffith has taken the over on that. How about a Jeff Sintel? You want to dive in here and give us your over-under thought on this?
57.5. So you got to be thinking about some sort of 42-14 game there for Georgia. I think this game goes over. First time in a couple weeks, I think the Georgia result will go over this week.
So 2 straight over picks there. Dog Nation Daily listeners and viewers, are they expecting to see a lot of points scored in this one? As we said before, getting at 57.5, and you 93% taking the over there. I mentioned this. We first started talking about UGA a moment ago. I feel like I'm sort of grasping at straws on this just a little bit. Connor, do you have a better feel on this overall?
I think UGA, obviously they win this week, and Arkansas State's offense, they're going to go tempo. They're going to try and throw the ball around, and I think that's going to get them, probably 1, maybe 2 touchdowns. So if I'm expecting Georgia to win by 35 and Arkansas State to score 2 touchdowns, that pretty clearly, just using math there, means this game's going to go over in my estimation.
And, Dari, I'm going to sell this as an over as well, and I'm going to buy into the fact that, Georgia does score the 60 last week, scored 60 last November against UMass. This is a team that's riding a little bit of a wave of putting up big point totals against overmatched opponents. I do think Arkansas State can score a little bit. Georgia got a defensive score last week, which is one of the things that helped that game go over, even though I was pretty confident last week that it wouldn't. I guess I'm going to reverse course here, and I'm going to say the over, because right now I just think it's hard to keep Georgia off the board, and Arkansas State's due to score at least a little bit. I don't even think 57.5 looks like that gigantic of a number, all that considered. So I'm going to go over here. Are you also going to go with the flow?
Yeah, a few stats for you. So Arkansas has gone under in their last 6 of 7 games that they played. Georgia has hit the over in 8 of their last 10 versus Sun Belt Conference teams. I think Georgia's going to score a lot of points. I think Arkansas is going to score more than people think late in this game. I like the over.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty smart play, and obviously we'll see how all that plays out, and we'll look forward to following all of these games here this weekend. Dari Payro from R.S. Andrews, we certainly wish you safe travels as you come back from Italy to be with us back stateside again next week. And I'll also invite folks that, listen, when you want the true expert advice on what to do with your air conditioning unit or your water heater or your any kind of plumbing issue, electrical issue, our friends at R.S. Andrews are the ones to turn to for all that. They have a simple question, which is how can they make you smile? And let's face it, when you're dealing with some sort of major issue or what looks to you to be a major issue around your house, a lot of times there's going to be some nervousness about that. But you have a lot of faith and trust you can put in our friends at R.S. Andrews because they show up on time, they do the work that's promised for the price that's promised. There's no bad surprise or anything like that. They just take real good care of you. And that's why we love Dari and the whole team over there at R.S. Andrews. Invite you to check them out as well, rsandrews.com. It's my advice as the best way to get in touch, rsandrews.com. Dari, thanks so much for being with us here again this week for Go With The Flow, presented by R.S. Andrews. As I said before, safe travels, and we will look forward to talking to you again next week.
Sure, appreciate it. Ciao. Go Dogs.
That's right. Ciao, and go Dogs to all the rest of you as well. We'll see you next week for Go With The Flow, presented by R.S. Andrews.